All right, guys, y'all ready? Just got a little bit more, and then we can leave for the day. Okay, so we're gonna finish up domain 3. So we're gonna start after lunch going over domain 3.3.1, compare, contrast, concepts, and strategies to protect data. This first slide is a little fucking boring, guys. We're just gonna go over the different data classifications that exist within organizations. It's really just memorizing some definitions right now. So let's do it. So we're gonna go over data types. So when we look at protecting our data in our organization, we have to classify it first. Is it sensitive? Is it public? Is it research and development? Is it intellectual property? Is it PII? So we have to define the type of data we have. So regulated. This is data bound by legal and regulatory requirements that need stringent protection measures to avoid non-compliance. What are we really talking about here? If we work in the health sector, I've used this example a lot, we have to be within HIPAA compliance. So we're gonna have data, like let's say we work in an enterprise, at a hospital, we have patient health records, that's under HIPAA. So that is regulated data. That is data that I don't get to determine how we use it or how we send it out. There's a regulation telling me what I need to do with that. GDPR, something you need to know, it's the General Data Protection Rights. That is the EU's laws for data privacy rules, regulations, and processing for all EU citizens. So if you're running like a e-commerce server, even if it's hosted in America, if you have European customers, technically the EU can fine you if you're not following GDPR rules. Do you think the big tech companies give a fuck about their fines though? No. That's like part of doing business for Meta because they make more money selling the data that they're not supposed to sell on European customers or users. Okay, trade secrets. This is information that provides a competitive edge. It's classified as a trade secret. Sound good? All right, it's corporate data. IP, so intellectual property. This could be corporate IP, it could be individual IP. It really just defines, hey, I created something, I invented something, and I have a copyright or a patent or a trademark on it. And if you have that data within your organization, you need to recognize it as intellectual property and then protect it. There is no really like compliance with this. It's not like there's a rule in America that's like, oh, if you didn't encrypt that IP, now that person can sue you because you didn't encrypt it properly. There's nothing like that. It's just that we have to understand our intellectual property, our copyrights are sensitive for competitive edges as well, just like trade secrets. So we want to put some sort of protection on it. Okay, legal information. So imagine you work at a lawyer's office or you work at the municipal court system and you're the IT guy or the cyber guy for the city. You're also going to have this type of data, which is going to have some sort of protections on it as well. So legal information is information related to legal proceedings or contracts. It's highly sensitive and requires a lot of confidentiality. So if we're storing legal information, we're going to want to encrypt it and segment it. And what are we worried about here? A breach. Someone actually exploiting us and getting that information. So what tools do we have to protect this besides just regular access control methods and encryption is data loss prevention. DLP is an agent or a software that is meant to stop this kind of sensitive data from getting exfiltrated. But part of DLP systems is you have to define in that system what this data looks like. So that's kind of what this slide deck is going over. You have to define the different types and classifications before you can protect it. Financial information. So this financial transactions, records, or assets is highly sensitive. It needs protection. Oh yeah, you got that. Yeah. There we go. So there is actually, it's not on here, but there is some compliance you have to be aware of with financial information. It's called PCI DSS. It's the payment card information. I forgot the DSS is. Something. Anyways, it's pretty much the regulation that defines how you can transact and store and process credit card information and what kind of cybersecurity protections you need for like point of sale machines. You guys know what a POS system is? It's, yeah. It's just, you know, when you tap your credit card, that's called a point of sale to businesses, okay? So PCI defines how you're supposed to segment that, how it's supposed to be protected, and how you're supposed to transact. And it's not really government regulated. PCI is actually all the credit card networks getting together. So like Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and saying, hey, if you want to make transactions and monies within our network as a business, you have to be PCI compliant. And if you're not, we can take away your right to transact in our credit card, debit card networks. Okay, data classification. So that was data types. Now we're going to go over the different classifications. Oh, 1 second. There's an outage in my area. Okay, sounds good. All right, so sensitive is data whose unauthorized disclosure, alteration, destruction can cause significant harm is classified as sensitive. Significant harm. Confidential. This is data that requires restriction of access to prevent unauthorized disclosure is classified as confidential. So it's not going to, if it gets breached, exploited, exfiltrated, it's not going to be significant harm, but we still need to protect it and put some sort of access control on it. Public. So this is data that can be disclosed without harm or loss is classified as public data. So imagine this is like your front-end website for customers. That's public data. Restricted. This is data with very high sensitivity, often subjected to legal or regulatory restrictions is classified as restricted. Gets a little confusing, huh? Sensitive, confidential, restricted, but that's the definitions CompTIA wants us to understand. Private. This is personal data that is not meant for public disclosure. Disclosure is classified as private. So we have to adhere to privacy laws. This is like those health records or PII, PHI, things like that. Okay, then critical. So this is data that's essential for the operation of your organization. So whether that's health records or the health sector, electrical sector, government, critical data is like, hey, I need this to actually operate or to function. So, in the government, that's like our secret and top secret data. All right, let's do our quiz. That one was quick. It's kind of just, we just need to fucking understand the definitions, yeah. Yeah, on the exam guides, you'll never see something like this, like all the above. They don't do that on the real exam, yeah.
No, we need more of that.
Remember I was telling you guys about software-defined networking? It's all GUI and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is my home network. So this is how I manage everything. Like there's my router. Here's my topology. So like all my access points are right here. And I can see like what's connected to it. And
Do you have an actual server at home or you use the cloud?
this is just the router's cloud console is what they call it.
Okay.
So the router, like it's physical,
Yeah.
and then it connects off to this service here, and I just log in, username, password, second factor authentication. But you can see like if you have kids, you can go see what they're getting on and stuff, and you can block apps and things like that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta talk to you.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's like I'll show you.
It's on lockdown now.
Oh. This kitchen.
You can see almost. You can. If it's a well-known IP address, remember I showed you the TLS inspection, right?
Yeah.
So not all web traffic you'll be able to see, but like Facebook, illicit sites, we'll say, corn sites, it'll show up on there if someone's watching that. Yeah. Crazy. It's like all the bandwidth is just Pornhub. It's crazy. It's called Ubiquity, but I think there's other products that probably do the same, but I'll show you what I have. So I have,
Because like I have no choice but to have Starlink.
yeah. So people connect this to Starlink all the time. So it's just a router, right? Starlink's your modem. So this is what I have,
Yeah.
but this one works just as good. It's kind of more friendly because this one you have to put in a rack.
Okay.
If you don't have a rack at your house, this one does the same shit. And it's Wi-Fi as well. I don't know how big your house is, but I put like 3 access points in my house, so I get like a bunch of coverage. So there's like my office, my kitchen.
Now those access points, those are just like essentially extenders, right?
Yeah. There's just Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like your house is pretty big.
It's not. It was really just more for fun. Like my house is like 1,500 square feet. Like it's yeah, huge.
Story, but my house is
Shoot,
like-
right out here.
Yeah.
Freaking 1,200 square foot for 600K.
Yeah. But look at this. So I hook up my own cameras. So these are the I can connect to all my cameras there too.
Yeah, same here.
School bus. Someone just stole my school bus.
And I got like their version of a Ring doorbell or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's my G4 doorbell is what it's called.
No,
Yeah,
do.
I go fucking squat in there.
I have-
And then I actually just removed the hard drive like last week because I needed more storage, but I need to replace that. I even have a home phone. But anyways,
Who uses home phone?
I have
They
a-
got touchscreens now. They're advanced.
Yeah. Like I some of the things, dude. Like I have no choice but to have a landline, just in case. Because like if cell phone service or the internet goes out, there's absolutely zero
Starlink.
way. Yeah, there's zero way I can communicate.
Damn.
Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't trust pigeons in West Virginia. Those are government spies.
Oh, they're drones.
I
That
random, like,
thing where it says like pigeons are the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
Like I literally live in the middle of nowhere. And if there was a pigeon that landed on my porch, I shot him as quick as I possibly could.
Wow, poor pigeon, dude.
Yeah, I just shot him with like a little 22.
Shot him with a 308.
I blew his fucking feathers everywhere.
Like, there is no anything anywhere near me.
All right,
And a pigeon.
let's finish up domain 3.3. Now we're going to go over general data considerations and methods to secure data. And guess what, guys? We're going to talk about something that we've been going over this entire class, so I'm going to go a little quick on this. So general data considerations. We have different data states. So what does that mean? I could have a file on my computer that's living on my computer. That's data at rest. I could attach it to an email and send it off. That's data in transit. If it's a PDF and the receiver opens it and opens that PDF in Google Chrome or Adobe, now it's data in use. So we have the different states of our data, and we need to protect them at each state. So data at rest, transit, and in use. Okay, went over that. Another general data consideration we need to be aware of as a cybersecurity professional is the data sovereignty. What are we really saying here? Is if I'm hosting servers or services in California, I need to be aware of the laws in California because they have their own little mini version of the GDPR. It's like the CCPA, something California protection, something. But if I ran that server in Arizona, I wouldn't have that law. So we call that data sovereignty. Just understanding what laws and regulations that you have to adhere to depending on where your users live, where you're processing data, or where you provision your actual resources and machines. And like I said, if I have EU customers, even though all my servers live in the US, technically, you're supposed to adhere to the GDPR rules. But if they fine you and then, you just don't pay it, they technically can shut down your website. But again, they don't ever fucking do that to like the big companies. So like if you can look it up, Meta literally just doesn't pay them. It's kind of funny actually. Or they keep pushing it and like fight it in court systems until it just,
Just disappears.
Yeah. Okay, then geolocation. So the physical location where data is stored and processed can significantly affect the legal and security considerations. So again, geolocation is kind of like a subset of data and sovereignty. It's saying, hey, where you're located affects the data sovereignty laws that you need to be wary of. But beyond that, location strategy as well. If I'm in the East Coast, which I am, I'm in Fort Bragg. I'm right here, right? And most of my boot camps when I started out was all on Fort Bragg. And I deployed cloud resources for my CCNA class so they can get real live labs. Do you think I should deploy my shit over here? No. It's just obvious stuff, right? So your geolocation matters where you deploy things. If you're an international company or a national company, does it really matter? Probably not. If you have like the same density of users from the West Coast to the Midwest to the East Coast, you can deploy it anywhere, probably in all three general regions, but it's just something you need to be aware of. Okay, methods to secure data. Now we're going to go over all the different ways we secure our data, which we've talked about a lot of these already. Okay, geographic restrictions. So maybe there is some things we cannot put in a certain region. So if I'm a GovCloud, I'm the US GovCloud, or I make a SaaS application. Do you guys know what SaaS is? Software as a service? If you want to sell that software as a service application to the government, US government, you have to be what's called FedRAMP approved. You have to go through this FedRAMP approval process. Okay, do you think I can host that SaaS in the EU if I'm selling it to the government? No. So that's all this is really trying to tell you. Like, hey, whatever you're doing, whatever you're deploying in an enterprise, if it's creating applications, whatever users you're processing, just understand there may be some, not laws you have to adhere to, but actual restrictions, okay? Depending on where you're located. All right, guys. Encryption. Does that provide us confidentiality or integrity? Confidentiality, right? Okay. So if we're data at rest, what can we do to protect the confidentiality of that data at rest?
Encrypted.
That's right. We can encrypt it. What do we usually use for like computers to encrypt data at rest? It's FDE, full disk encryption, right? If we're data in transit, what do we use to encrypt our data? What kind of protocols or technologies?
SSL and TLS.
That's right. TLS, VPNs, IPsec, shit like that. All right. Hashing. So is hashing confidentiality or integrity? Integrity. It verifies that data has not been what? Altered or changed. Yep. Okay, data masking. We talked about this day one, but this is just obscuring specific data within a database to prevent, well, it's kind of misleading because like if someone gets into my database, somehow they're authorized, and masking is kind of like, okay, you got here, now I don't want you to be able to read it, okay? But essentially, if someone does get unauthorized access, they may not be able to use that data or understand what it's there for. That's data masking. Okay, tokenization. Remember we talked about this? This is Apple Pay, Google Pay, where you replace sensitive data with a token. So it's not obscuring it, obfuscating it, it's actually replacing it with a token, and you now use that token to process the data. That's tokenization. Okay, obfuscation involves deliberately making data or code ambiguous or confusing to prevent unauthorized understanding or modification. Remember I was telling you, this is like code words, things like that. A lot of companies do this when they have to share like a single sales portal, like in Android we did this. And if some of our departments were going after a contract that was sensitive, they had to put code words in there because we all use a single Salesforce or sales application to track customers. Segmentation, we've talked about this. In traditional networks, we use VLANs to segment. This helps prevent against lateral movement. It helps us apply security policies better. We have ACLs, access control lists, that can permit or deny traffic flow. That's a form of segmentation. Then in the cloud, we have micro-segmentation, which we call east to west filtering, where we actually filter on a per resource basis rather than like an entire network. We'll put like network security group settings or application security group settings on a single resource in the cloud that lives within a single network that's within a single zone, and that does east to west filtering. All right. Permission restrictions. This is, least privilege, access control, role-based access control, restricting permissions to exactly what a user needs or giving permissions based off that user's role, and ensuring users only have access to the necessary permissions they need to fulfill what they were hired for. During your onboarding, this is where you'd get your permissions set by the IT team. Then offboarding is where you get that shit taken away and you get your account disabled. So management of permissions. So as a cybersecurity shop analyst, if you're sitting in the SOC, you want to have some sort of audit rotation, some sort of monthly, quarterly audits of accounts to make sure there's not like permission creep and to make sure that we have taken away the necessary permissions for users that have offboarded, things like that. All right, let's do our quiz. And then we'll take a little break and then we'll finish up today. See, another quick day.
Finish that shit.
I'm gonna get rid of this question up here. I don't like it. It's kind of silly.
I got that one wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
Hashing is also.
It technically is reversible too.
Yeah.
It is. Like, so I'm gonna get rid of it. I think what this is meant to say is like an encryption. Like you use RSA, you have keys that can encrypt and decrypt. So it's like, I think that's what the point it was trying to make, but I already disabled it. It's not gonna be in the quiz anymore. Yeah.
Question's gay.
Yeah.
So gay.
Disagree with you. Yeah.
There you go, man. Say whatever. Sure, dude, that question's gay, I guess.
Yeah, that question, homosexual.
Just put that.
Extremely homosexual.
That's what a comment is, something like that. Fucking gay.
Big faggy energy.
Whoa. Too far, bro. There's no line.
No lie.
Get that thumb ready.
Okay, that's good.
You can rely on it. Trust me.
Good, I'm gonna need it.
Mine all up here.
Right.
Nah.
Doesn't fucking use
Fuck that clanker. I want to do it myself. Fuck, hold on. I had to bring up my other screen. Okay, domain 3.4. Explain the importance of resilience and recovery in security architecture. So again, going over resilience and redundancy again. And we're going to talk about high availability, site consideration, and capacity planning. Okay, so high availability, describe it a third time. We'll read this slide. High availability refers to systems designed to be operational and accessible for long duration without interruptions. There's not a one-size-fits-all to this. Like I've told you, we liked our physical, logical redundancy. Firewalls come in high availability pairs, or sometimes you have an active and passive firewall that are like connected together, serving the same customers. So there's a lot of different ways to get these HA pairs, or to say, hey, in my organization, we have high availability because we have synchronous replication between different regional storage area networks and sites. There's a lot of different ways to do this. The objective, though, is just no downtime. Even when we have to do maintenance, we have no downtime. It's part of our business continuity planning that we have high availability, even in the event of natural disasters or data breaches or incidences or whatever the case may be. Now, just like real world guys, if you ever do go be a cybersecurity engineer, high availability is amazing, right? Your organization, though, really determines whether or not you get this capability, because what is this going to cost? Double, right? It's pretty much double. If I come to you and I'm like, I can get us online. I need a router, switch, printer, whatever I need. If I need high availability of all those things, I essentially need to double it, right? And then I need to find a way to get a different internet path out. Or if I'm doing this in the cloud, they're going to be like, okay, our cloud bill is 30 grand a month. To get high availability, you're telling me you need to double the resources you have in the East region to the West region? It's going to be a hard sell, right? If they're like, but we've never been down before. Especially if you've never had a data breach in an organization, it's a hard sell, because management may not just understand. Okay, load balancing versus clustering. So it's really not a verse. I don't like that I put versus on there. I might actually change this slide. They're just two ways to deliver high availability. It's not like you do this one or this one. They're always used in conjunction most of the time. So load balancing is on the network. So this is a technique or a service or an appliance that says, hey, I see all my incoming networking connections, and I'm servicing, or I'm passing those off to this web server or this cluster. I'm going to send 50% to server 1, 20% to server 2, and 30% to server 3. And I do that based off these different algorithms that I have pre-programmed into my load balancer application or software. This could be like round robin, where it's literally just one comes in, server 1, another connection, server 2. It's round robin. Or it could be weighted, where essentially we have like agents installed on our servers and our load balancer, where we're monitoring resource consumption. So if I see server 1's at 70% CPU, 80% bandwidth on that link, I'm like, okay, that one has a high load, so I'm going to send it over to server 3 over here that may have 20% CPU resource consumption. So different ways we can configure that load balancer, but the goal is the same: distribute the incoming networking load. Clustering, that just involves pooling multiple servers together. In containerization, you do this. You have container clusters that are being configured and orchestrated and automated using something like Kubernetes, an orchestration protocol. Servers, hypervisors do this as well. If you have a type 1 hypervisor and you have 4 racks of servers, or 4 servers in a rack, and you deploy a type 1 hypervisor on all 4, typically you cluster them, you combine them, okay? So that you get 4 hosts in a single server is really what we call it. I don't want to get too deep, but yeah, clustering is just a way to pull together resources for your containers, services, and servers. Okay, different types of sites, how do we label them? So we know high availability leads to resilience and redundancy, us having minimal downtime. So we have these different sites, hot, warm, and cold, that define how we can do redundancy at the data center level, okay? So a hot site. This is an external facility that is geographically dispersed, okay? You can't have a hot site for this office next door, because if power outage happens here, what's going to happen next door? Same thing, right? So a hot site is a geographically dispersed, redundant data center that's ready to take over the business operations immediately. So remember first day I called something a COOP, a continuity of operations? We sometimes call this a COOP site. So if I have a data center in Tampa, my hot site or my COOP site is going to be maybe in New Mexico or Texas. Well, Texas has natural disasters, right?
Disaster.
Not really, man. Arizona, I don't remember a natural disaster. I grew up there 20 years. Not even floods. Like, if you're in the fucking middle of the desert somewhere, yeah, but like not like your housing.
Right.
Yeah, like California, you got earthquakes. You know, that's what they worry about. Like New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, like what happens here in Nevada?
Homeless like forever.
Like, what natural disasters hit you guys?
I lived in Nevada.
Truckee flooded. We got skinwalkers.
Skip natural disasters.
I can't remember a single one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Phoenix, we have those dust storms, but they don't really they just are dust. But anyways, okay.
Get inside. Why did I make an outdoor?
Yeah, literally. But hot site. Just know it's immediately ready to take over business operations and is geographically dispersed. A warm site is a middle ground. So why even have this? It comes down to cost, right? If you have a hot site, you're maintaining a second operational data center, essentially. It's immediately ready to take over, so you have to maintain that. So a warm site is something in the middle between a hot site and a cold site. It's equipped with some of the components, but you still need admin intervention to get it up and running. So think of this in like less than a couple hours or 2 to 24 hours. If you Google it right now, like time for warm site to be available, you're gonna get different answers depending on the vendor. But they're partially equipped. They require less time to become operational compared to cold sites, but it's not instant like a hot site. A cold site is just a backup facility that you pay the space, you pay the power, you probably got HVAC in there, but nothing else is set up. You have to go rack, stack, and configure. Okay, geographic dispersion, like I talked about. So why do we want geographic dispersion? It could be data sovereignty. It could be protecting us from natural disasters. And it could just be we want a lot of space between our replication. Or we have users. We have users internationally. So we place strategic data centers in those geolocations to serve those users. Platform diversity. This is a great one. Like if you read IT forums, this is always like kind of a big joke because everyone says they want platform diversity. They want a multi-vendor environment, okay? What does this actually entail? So if I have web servers, the most trained people, if you look at tech talent, there's a pool of talent in tech. And web servers are always deployed on Linux. But you want fucking vendor diversity or platform diversity. So you're like, well, I want to deploy some web servers on Linux and some on Windows. So what do you have to do now? Hire someone that knows how to do Linux, and maybe he or she can do Windows, but they're probably going to be like, I don't know how. So then what do you got to do? Hire them on Windows. And then you got to maintain 2 patching systems for the same web application. So platform diversity in cyber is, it's not like it's a pipe dream. It does happen in some environments. In some environments, it requires it. But it's essentially like, hey, if I have a Palo Alto firewall and a Fortinet firewall, and the Fortinet firewall gets exploited, if there's a CVE, I'm still good over here. I can move everything over to my Palo Alto, and because I had that vendor diversity, not all my traffic is now vulnerable. That's the point of it, right? But again, it's really hard to do, because again, what are you asking the company to do? Invest in it and buy double, okay? It's just hard. Now, some environments require this. So in the DoD, have you guys ever heard of CSFC? Can't remember the acronym, but it's like something, I don't fucking know the acronym, but essentially it requires NSA standard multi-vendor platforms to do. Pretty much you get a computer that connects off to a data center, and you don't need any KG or encryption device to do secret, to do like SIPRnet. So anyways, that requires like platform diversity. So there is some environments where it's possible. And this is another pipe dream right here, multi-cloud systems, because I know Azure and I know Google Cloud. If you ask me to go configure AWS, I could probably figure it out. If I'm using something like Terraform and Ansible, the code is generally the same, but this is hard to maintain. The point of it from a cybersecurity perspective is what? If AWS goes down, I still have my Azure resources. Again, in practice, this is really hard to do, but it can reduce the impact of a single provider's outage or service disruption. I'm going to come back to it because it's important that as IT professionals, we understand we're not just there for a nice little science experiment. We're there to enable profitability for the business. That's another hard sell. If you can do it in Azure, why are we going to double or triple our costs here, right? It's just a hard sell. Continuity of operations. Talked about that, COOP. It's the practice of ensuring that essential business processes can continue during and after a severe disruption. So the way you do this, if you're not like an organization that just invest, is first you have to kind of label what your mission critical applications are. So if we're a business that generates profit based on sales, what do you think our critical applications are? The phone and email, a way to talk to your customers. So we kind of start outlining the most impactful applications and services and how to COOP them. Say, okay, if I know we need phones up and we need email up and messaging and like social media platforms, whatever our marketing is up, that's the most important thing to me, then I need to start setting up backups for that first and then start working my way down, okay? So focus on building resilient systems and processes that can withstand disruptions and recover quickly. And you want to focus on the most important applications. And then how do you know your shit works? Like how do you know your redundancy works? You have to test it. You have to set aside time to do simulation tests, which will bring down the production network. So hopefully you can see that your failovers work. And you're going to want to do that in a maintenance window. And then there's other exercises where you can sandbox it. Okay, capacity planning. This is saying, hey, I know we're going to have a spike. I know during this premiere of a show like Netflix. Remember when Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson? You remember that? Do you remember how shitty your Netflix service was? Yep. Yeah. So they probably were like not expecting that millions of people to tune in at one time, and it overwhelmed the servers. Essentially, it's like DDoS. It was like a DDoS attack. That's what it seemed like, and it stopped making resources available to actually do that stream. So all this is saying is that you need to understand your organizational requirements and plan for that uptick in users and customers or whatever. Do you guys know One Piece at all?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Still in the first.
I love One Piece. I'm like a big fan. I got it tattooed on me.
They just said the first season's the first is 1,185 episodes or something. I haven't even watched that.
Not the first season, but
Yeah, no, that's what they're counting that as
Who's
the
they?
first season. I don't know who.
nah, there's multiple
I heard something
seasons.
about that being that's the thing now.
There's a total episodes are like 1,200 episodes, but there's like seasons, you know.
The devil fruit.
Oh yeah, it's easy. All right, let's do our quiz. Skim it. I'll just get the Cliff Notes. Yeah, have you guys seen those applications that track like Papa John's around DC and stuff like that? Anyways, they track the amount of orders that come in around the White House and Pentagon, and it's like OSINT now. Like you can tell when some mission's about to happen. Anyways, yeah, and you can bet on it. What's that, Poly Market? Yeah.
All right, here we go. We have 500 pizza night.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, people were putting bets on if we were going to actually topple Venezuela and stuff, yeah.
Do they have some
That's like, I don't know how that shit's fair, because if you were part of that operation, I would have fucking put money right then and there, yeah. That's another indicator. Imagine a bunch of people taking bets one way on the poly market. Yeah, that raid was crazy. They said they use sonic weapons on people. I want to get my hands on that so I can go home sick for the day at work, you know? Just blast it. I'm sick. I gotta go home.
I'm surprised you haven't worked with those.
Well, you know, can't talk about everything, right? That was one thing when I got out of JSOC, man. I honestly didn't want to go back into the community because I hated it, bro. I hated going to the comp, badging in, like how secret it was. It's just too much.
Did you ever do that Wi-Fi scanning at Camp Alpha?
No, I never personally did. No.
Where does Camp Alpha sound familiar?
Some Bagram, old Bagram Air Base.
That's why it sounds familiar to me. I'm like, why does it sound?
You know, I actually went to Camp Alpha though as a White Soft supporting 10th group, but then I went back there for the task force. But I didn't spend like my whole jort out there. You said you were mainly in Iraq?
I was all over.
Yeah. Syria, Iraq, oh, yeah.
Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa.
What part of Africa?
We were in Cameroon.
Okay, nice. I did 6 months in Uganda. It was so fun, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, we were on like a fucking Cameroonian air base in the middle of.
Oh. It was shit, yeah.
3 planes with one dude that knew how to fly them, so he would just sit there every day and do fucking hot.
Mine was a little different. We were in a nice like city, like the second biggest city in Uganda, and it was actually fun.
You know, they were selling bags of water. In this,
Yeah.
bags of water.
Dude, you know what's fucked up?
Little pouches.
Yeah, so we fly into Uganda. Our people come to pick us up, and they're like, "Oh, you guys hungry?" We're like, "Fuck yeah!" Like we haven't ate, since Amsterdam, and they got us street chicken for our first night there, dude. Like, why the fuck would y'all do this to us? Like,
Y'all weren't shitting yourselves.
I know I was definitely like, hell yeah, it was so good, but yeah, you had to get used to it.
That was cool. You could go pay like $20 to feed a goat to a lion.
Yeah, it was
Like
my
a little zoo.
my buddy. He was it was hey, my buddy. He was at like a fob, like some. He was in Central African Republic, but he like was part of some local tribe's wedding. It was fucking awesome, and all he had to do was give like 2 packs of cigarettes and some coke, and he became part of the wedding party.
Damn.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Back of the stuff.
All right, guys, let's finish up for the day. So finishing domain 3.4, we're going to go over testing, backups, and power. So we're going to describe the different types of tests I've kind of already been talking about. So a tabletop exercise. These are structured discussions used to examine and evaluate an organization's plans and capabilities, and also for you to understand your role and responsibility. So the objective is just, hey, we're going to sit down, key stakeholders, our teams, and say, hey, if we have a data breach on our accounting server, what's everyone's roles? And do you know where to go get the playbooks and the run books to do incident response? And do you know who to call, who to talk to, who to inform? That's a tabletop exercise. They're just scenario-based whiteboard sessions. Failover and simulation. So failover is exactly what it sounds like. We have two circuits going to our ISP. We're going to close the primary one. And does the secondary one take over within our timed metrics? Like maybe we have a failover of less than 1 second. We want to make sure that works. Simulation involves creating a controlled environment to mimic real-world scenarios. So this is like, hey, this isn't a failover because we're not testing primary backups, primary secondaries. A simulation is we're going to actually data breach. We're going to hire a penetration testing company to do red team, blue team activities with us. They're going to be the red team. We're going to know about it, so it's going to be kind of like a known environment, not an unknown. And our SOC, our blue team, is going to know they're coming. Okay, that's a simulation. All right, parallel processing. So parallel processing testing involves conducting operations in a real-time environment alongside existing systems and comparing the performance. So this one I've never seen in practice because I really don't know how you duplicate your production network and then say it's the same. But just for the CompTIA exam, that's what it is, okay? Real-time environment alongside existing systems and enabling comparison of performance. I'm assuming what they're saying here is like, hey, we're going to leave our Windows Server 2019. We're going to upgrade to 2022 over here on another server, and we're going to do like comparisons. I'm assuming that's what it means. So, okay. But they can't both be in production at the same time. But anyways, moving on. Okay, backups. Let's go over backups of our databases, our storage, and just our virtual machines or our compute resources. So on-site, off-site. On-site backups provide quick access for data recovery. What are we talking about here? So that is we have a file share, let's say local in your guys' office here, and you back it up to another file share that's also local, but it's not the active one. So you're doing like replication. Users are talking to this one here though, and then it's replicating over here and backing up over here still on site. Primary one goes down, you're going to be able to come up right away, right? Because you're all on site. It's a backup that's local to you guys. Off-site backups are kind of, I'm going to say better, but it's like, okay, this is a backup and we're planning for a natural disaster where a power outage hits our whole office. So not as quick, but a little bit, I don't know what I'm trying to say, not secure. It's just, it's more accurate, right? It's actually a backup because it's going to bring you back online even if the whole site goes down. Okay, then the frequency of your backups. So this is something that's going to be based off organizational policy. So we have different types. We have a full backup, which you can imagine what that is. If I have 10 terabytes of data, a full backup backs up that entire drive. We have incremental backups, which is like, hey, that day we added 1 gig of data, back up just that new 1 gig. And then we have differential backups, which is like, hey, just back up the difference between Monday and Thursday. So it's not like every day type of thing. So we have 3 different ways we can do it. It really just depends on your risk appetite in your organization. If we have a low risk appetite, meaning we don't want risk, we want to mitigate as much risk as possible, we're going to back up pretty frequently. And the more backups we do, the more what do we take? Storage. The more storage we take up. So that's going to also in turn cost us what? More money. So again, this is all based off the organization you're in. And then encryption. Why do we encrypt our data? Because we don't want to be exploited, right? We don't want it to be shown in plain text. It's like full disk encryption. Okay, different types of backups here that aren't just like storage backups. We have snapshots. So you guys ever taken a snapshot of a virtual machine? Okay, so imagine you have a virtual machine and you're about to update it. You're about to do a major update and you're like, before I update this, I want to make sure I can roll back to this working version, okay? So I'm going to take a snapshot of that virtual machine, and then I'll do my update. And if it breaks something, what do? Revert back to that snapshot. That's what it is. It's taking a real-time instance or a point of time for that system, okay? Recovery involves strategies and plans to restore systems and data to operational status. And then replication and journaling. All right. What's the difference here? Depending on who you ask, when I think of journaling or a journaling server, that's actually really in an OT environment. Like they say they have journaling servers and historian servers and librarian servers like in our factories and stuff like that are just backups. Replication is I have a primary storage drive and I can replicate to any other storage drive I choose throughout my entire environment, okay? So a journaling server is going to be something specific. Like we label it a journaling server and we back up our logs, back up activity, back up data to it. Where replication is just saying, hey, here's server 1, server 2, users go to server 1, and I'm going to replicate over to server 2. Everything users do on that. Not necessarily logs or alerts, just all the data that gets added, okay? 2 types of replication, synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous is right away. He uploads to server 1, it automatically gets pushed to server 2. Asynchronous is like, hey, every 30 minutes we'll replicate. Every hour we're going to replicate. And then power. Let's talk about backing up our power. You guys know what an UPS is, right? I'm sure you guys use them in your racks. We all know what that is. It's just a fucking battery. These batteries help us regulate brownouts and rolling power outages. Now, they won't help you for long in a blackout period, obviously. There's a time limit on it because it's just a battery. These can also be managed. So in a data center, a lot of the UPS nowadays will have like a Ethernet port, and you can actually manage them and monitor them as just like a network equipment. And then we have generators. So we want generators when we need independent power for sustained blackouts. And with those generators, we want some sort of ATS. Y'all know what that is, right? Yep. You guys are like blue collar, so I assumed you kind of maybe, I don't know, would know that type of shit. But yeah, automatic transfer switch. And it's something you want to test, not just assume that it's going to work, okay? Actually, a lot of people in my neighborhood have, Generac. Yeah. And they say they're pretty good. But I want to get one.
Yeah, it kicks in within 7 seconds of no power, and my generator, like...
What's it, like fuel? Like, what is it?
Oh, it's natural gas.
Natural gas, right? That's the better option, right?
Yeah.
Because that flows even if power goes out.
It flows, everything's nice, and I have a well on my property. So
Nice. You don't fuck with solar? You would never do that?
I can,
He's thinking about it. He's thinking barely.
It's not efficient? Like, it's not.
no.
Yeah. Arizona, that's the
Solar-
move.
Literally solar, you're only good for 100% up to 10 years. Then at 15 years, your solar panels are down to like 75 to 60.
No, so they degrade, yeah.
Yeah, they degrade really quickly.
In Arizona, a lot of people have them for obvious reasons, but where you're at, we got like a little assessment, and my fucking house is covered in trees. They're like, yeah, you get at least 70% sun coverage. I'm like, I don't think so, man. Like,
No.
like I think you're just trying to sell me, but
Yeah.
anyways, okay. Let's do our quiz. Then that's it for today, guys.